What's up, everybody? World of Matchups back at it. Today we're going to do something different. We're not going to break down an NFL team. I was thinking let's span all sports today and have a little fun here. I was thinking about what my top five sports movies of all time were. I've been talking to some of my buddies about this. It's just been interesting to see the feedback that you get when you see who's a boomer, and some of these guys are millennials, some are Gen X, Gen Z. These are going to be my top five. You can comment and let me know what you guys think of my list, and give me your own list. It'd be really interesting to hear. So coming in at number five for me is Miracle, the hockey movie that's come out in 2004, starring Kurt Russell. Coach Herb Brooks is who he plays brilliantly. They bring this guy in during the Cold War to go to the Olympics with a bunch of handpicked college kids that actually end up going out and win the gold medal, beating the Soviets. Now, to give you a little perspective at this time, the Soviets are just murdering everybody. Nobody even comes close to beating them for years and years and years and years. But Coach Brooks develops a style of play that is one that attacks the Soviets versus trying to defend them. It's a fantastic story. My first love of any sport was watching the Islanders at 3 years old with my dad. And so I love hockey. I'm one of those black guys that loves hockey, if you can believe it. There's a couple of us out there, but you cannot love hockey and not love this movie. It is a fantastic watch. I think Kurt Russell is one of the most underrated actors in all of the history of Hollywood, and he doesn't ever get his just due. People don't give him his flowers like he deserves it. So we're going to shine him up here. Put Miracle on Ice at number five. Number four, Hoosiers came out in 1986, starring Gene Hackman. Killed this role as embattled Coach Norman Dale, hired by a very tiny Indiana high school to coach basketball. These young 8 boys had no idea of what they were getting themselves into. This is a really feel-good story, but it's got a basketball tone to it because these guys can shoot, but Coach Dale teaches them the fundamentals of how to shoot. And Barbara Hershey also is in this movie. She talks their one-star player, Jimmy Chipwood, to not play, but to focus on his studies. Coach Dale comes in. He brings in Shooter, played by Dennis Hopper, who played this role fantastically, brilliantly. Finally, he's about to be ousted by the town. Jimmy shows up at the town hall meeting, says, Coach stays, I'll play, and off we go. And they go on a fantastic run of just amazing high school fundamental basketball, taking it all the way to the Indiana State title and winning it. If you haven't seen this movie, shame on you. You cannot say you love high school basketball and have not seen Hoosiers. Coming in at number four. Coming in at number three, one of my favorite movies of all time in any genre of movie. Remember the Titans. Denzel Washington is my favorite actor of all time. He played Herman Boone, coach for the Titans. Now look, Alexandria, Virginia during this time, 1971, integration starting to happen in high schools, and it's not really going very well. They bring in black coach Herman Boone to not only teach these boys how to play football and win games, but he's teaching these guys about life and the color of your skin not mattering as much as the content of your character. It's got a very Martin Luther King feel to it as well. At the end, they win the title. It's a fantastic story. Wood Harris is in this. He plays a great role. Denzel Washington was fantastic in this. Ryan Hurst is in this. Ryan Gosling. There are really good actors in this. And it just tells you how important that time of America, they needed that. Football brought them together. Football brought that town together. And we don't realize how lucky we are living in 2022 to not have to have gone through some of the stuff that these men and women went through back then. It's a great, great, great story, and it's one of my favorite movies. Number two, The Natural, 1984, one of my favorite baseball movies. This was tough because there's a whole bunch of baseball movies out there that I really like, but I like the story of The Natural. Okay, Robert Redford, one of his best roles, Barbara Hershey, who played Harriet Bird, shoots him. Mr. Roy Hobbs, who is on his way to a tryout for the Chicago Cubs. 16 years later, he gets his shot playing with the Knights, and Wilford Brimley, who is Coach Pop Fisher, gives him his shot After much ado, he gets into the game. Bump Bailey dies running into the right field wall, and off we go. All of a sudden, he's one of the best players in the entire league, and they end up getting to the playoffs. He hits one of the most majestic home runs in the entire history of sports movies, crashes the lights. It's a fantastic movie. It's a feel-good movie, and I have to put this in there at my number 2. I know some of you think that there are going to be better baseball movies, but in 1984, I was 12 years old, and watching The Natural, it just took me every single time I watched it. And then there is my number 1 favorite sports movie of all time, and it is easily, hands down, without question, 1976, Rocky. Now, Rocky has spanned the test of time. If you know the backstory about how this movie even came to fruition, you know that this is the reason why Sylvester Stallone is famous to this day. This movie put him on the map. I was 4 when this movie came out. There's not a time when this movie's not on TV that I don't stop and watch it. It's a story about redemption. It's a story about being an underdog. It's a love story. Sylvester Stallone, Talia Shire, Carl Weathers, Burt Young, Burgess Meredith, they were all fabulous. Fabulous. This is probably the greatest low-budget movie of my life. Probably of all time. So, he's a leg breaker. He's a collections guy. He gets a shot. He's a club fighter. He's a brawler. Gets his shot after Apollo Creed fails to have this match with a fighter who breaks his hand. And he uses his mind. Apollo Creed was such a great villain, by the way. And he comes up with this idea of giving a lucky bum a shot. And they're going through the club books of all the fighters in Philadelphia, and they find the Italian stallion, Rocky Balboa, and he gets his shot. And he just wants to go the distance. And it sets up for Rocky 2 and Rocky 3 and Rocky 4. And just the entire Rocky series is just unbelievable on how there's a little bit of Rocky in everybody. You know, if you get a shot in life, take your shot. You know, if you're an underdog, that doesn't mean you're down and out. And he gave Apollo the fight of his life. He beats Apollo in Rocky 2 and takes the championship, and off we go. But I believe that of all the Rockies, of all of them, to me, this is the best one. There's just a feel-good to it every time I watch it. And you know, it just goes to show you can go from nobody to somebody overnight. All you need is your shot. And so for that reason alone, Rocky 1976, it's one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time, but it is my number 1 sports movie of all time. Let me know what you guys thought of my list. Let's see your list. Like, follow. We appreciate you here at World of Matches. We'll get back to the football breakdowns tomorrow.